Ladies and gentlemen, welcome aboard. During our flight, I'm going to share a few little-known and fascinating facts about aviation. From the truth about bad airline food to how choosing the right seat could actually save your life. And here are a few secrets airlines don't usually share with passengers. Boarding a plane is one of the most stressful parts of any trip. You get through security, finally make it to your gate, only to find a long line of passengers waiting to board your flight. While you're waiting, take a closer look at your boarding pass. That 6-character mix of letters and numbers printed on most tickets, that's your passenger record. It helps identify you in case there are several people on board with the same name. This code is stored in the airline's reservation system, contains your flight details, and can reveal quite a bit about you, including your date of birth and contact information. That's why you should never toss your boarding pass into a public trash bin. In fact, the code can also reveal your credit card information, passport details, and even your IP address if you booked your ticket online. But if a code tied to your personal details sounds unsettling, I hope you never spot the next one on your ticket. Passengers whose boarding passes have for capital S letters often face extra screening. Why? This code means selected for secondary screening, and it's added to the tickets of passengers who raise red flags. Airports take security very seriously, and something that seems perfectly harmless to us can look suspicious to an airline. A last-minute booking, a one-way ticket, or paying in cash can make airport staff uneasy. So try not to panic if you ever see this code, unless, of course, you have something to hide. Have you ever used the airplane lavatory and wondered where exactly all that waste goes? Contrary to the popular myth, airplanes aren't allowed to dump anything into the sky, but every now and then, accidents happen. When you flush on a plane, powerful suction pulls the waste away, using only a small amount of water to save weight and space on board. The contents go into a sealed tank mixed with a blue disinfectant. At the end of flight, that mixture is pumped into a truck at the airport and disposed of. But sometimes, that frozen blue chunk, made from a rather unpleasant cocktail of human waste and disinfectant, breaks loose midair and falls to the ground. In the US, there have been at least 27 documented cases of this so-called blue ice falling from planes between 1979 and 2003, including one incident where it even broke through a roof beneath an airport flight path. There's no switch or mechanism that lets pilots or flight attendants deliberately release it, but leaks in the system do occasionally happen. So, if you ever come across a piece of blue ice, trust me, it's not blueberry ice cream. Don't eat it. Jumping ahead a bit to the topic of safe spots on an airplane, the lavatory can actually be one of them. The most famous and well-documented case happened to flight attendant Vesna Vulovic in 1972. She was the sole survivor of the crash of JT Flight 367, when the plane exploded mid-air over Czechoslovakia. Vesna happened to be in the lavatory at the moment of the explosion. She fell from more than 33,000 feet, still inside the tail section of the aircraft, which broke off and landed in snow-covered mountains. So, if you ever get an upset stomach during a flight, don't be in a rush to leave the bathroom. Everyone knows airplane food has a terrible reputation. But have you ever wondered why? These meals are usually prepared on the ground by catering companies near airports, often 12 to 72 hours before the flight. Contrary to popular belief, airplane food isn't frozen. It's chilled, delivered to the aircraft, then reheated by the cabin crew and served to passengers. Some airlines even have onboard chefs and galleys. Still, nothing served in the air can truly compare to a meal in a restaurant on the ground. So why does airplane food taste so bland? It all comes down to simple human biology. Inside the cabin, the air humidity can drop to around 10%, which is actually drier than the Sahara Desert. When humidity is that low, your nasal passages dry out, which dulls your sense of taste and smell. After some time in the cabin, your ability to detect sweetness drops by about 15 to 20%, and saltiness by 20 to 30%. Some airlines try to compensate for this by adding more salt and sugar to their meals. So you're probably consuming more calories on a plane than you realize. If those bland meals bother you, The good news is, it's actually something you can fix. Turns out, if you wear noise-canceling headphones, your food and drinks can taste better while you're flying. Strangely enough, research shows that loud noise dulls your sense of taste. So noise-canceling headphones that block out the low hum of the plane's engines can help your taste buds bounce back. The chimes you hear on an airplane aren't just a reminder to fasten your seatbelt. For the crew, they act as a hidden language that passengers almost never understand. A single chime can mean the pilots are calling the flight attendants to the cockpit or passing along an urgent instruction. A double chime often sounds when the plane passes the 10,000-foot mark, both during ascent and descent. This is the point when service can begin or wrap up, and certain operational rules for the crew come into effect. But there's something passengers are rarely told. Some airlines have their own secret combinations of chimes that aren't listed in any public manual. These sounds can alert the crew to an unusual situation, give a discreet command, or even signal the start of a specific procedure. So the next time you hear that chime, you might be witnessing a message whose meaning is known only to a select few on board. Contrary to countless movies and TV series about plane crashes, air travel is actually one of the safest forms of transportation, with the odds of dying in a crash being just 1 in 3,370,000,000. Still, 1 out of every 3 people is afraid of flying, and this fear has led many to wonder, where are the safest seats in case of an accident? It turns out, an analysis of data from 17 plane crashes over the last 35 years, published by Time magazine, has the answer. Researchers found that in the rear third of the aircraft, the chance of survival is 68%. In the front section, it's 62%, and in the middle third, only 61%. At first glance, it might seem that an aisle seat would be the safest, since it provides quicker access to the emergency exits. However, according to the study, aisle seats in the middle section of the aircraft are actually the worst in the event of a crash, with just a 56% survival rate. Meanwhile, middle seats in the rear section of the plane turn out to be the safest of all, offering a 72% chance of survival in an emergency landing. We don't like to think about it, but people can die almost anywhere, and sometimes it happens at 35,000 feet. Although such cases are extremely rare, the crew must be prepared for the possibility that someone might suddenly pass away during the flight. If a passenger dies on board, the crew usually has no choice but to wait until the plane lands before removing the body from a cabin. Sometimes airlines effectively upgrade the deceased to a quieter first-class section. If no spare seats are available, flight attendants cover the body with a blanket and secure it with a seatbelt to ensure the safety of other passengers. At one point, Singapore Airlines moved away from the cover the deceased with a blanket method and equipped some of its Airbus A340-500 aircraft with special compartments for storing bodies in the event of an in-flight death. This made sense, as these aircraft operated some of the world's longest non-stop routes. For example, the flight from Singapore to New York's JFK Airport used to take about 18 hours and 40 minutes. Today, the Airbus A340-500 has been retired. But the idea of a corpse compartment still seems far more practical than the prospect of a flight attendant asking first-class passengers if they mind sitting next to the deceased. If you'd like to discover more fascinating and hidden facts about air travel, make sure to watch our video, 18 Hidden Features on Airplanes You Didn't Know About. You'll find the link in the description. And don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon so you won't miss our upcoming videos. See you next time.